So are you trying to pick up some momentum in your business, on social media, maybe on YouTube, maybe in your podcast, and nothing seems to be working? Maybe you're like teaching, you're sharing your abilities, you're getting other people to see what you're capable of, but just not many people other than maybe your mom and one of your friends is showing up. If that's the case, today's workshop is going to be for you. Now, here's the thing. I want to start off with a problem, and the problem here is not you. It's just that we don't have enough people who know you yet. Because honestly, if enough people knew you, your potential, what you're capable of doing, and how you can help them, they would be jumping in like full as much as they can because they really do need your help. But the problem comes with how you get people to know, like, and trust you, but really how you get in front of people to get them the opportunity to decide to follow you or not. And unfortunately, social media is not built for you to like gain a lot of influence just through your social media activities. However, there is one way that we're going to talk to you about today that has been able to exponentially grow our influence, and it's something that we term influence surfing. It's going to be finding ways of using the influence of other people to get people to bridge the gap between you and them so they can actually see that what you have is something very incredible that will work and help them too. So if you're ready to do that, if you're ready to find out how to create that momentum by building on other people's influence, let's go. Welcome to the Inner Circle. We are proud to be on this mission with you. What mission is that? We believe that you don't have to sacrifice one area of your life to have massive success in business. We believe that what you achieve on the outside is a direct result of what you become on the inside. We believe that growing your business should never come at the expense of nurturing your family. We believe taking personal responsibility is the key to changing the outside circumstances. And we believe that your physical and mental health is the most important element to sustain your success. Thank you for being here and for being willing to lean in and be the modern leader the world needs now more than ever. You ready to do this? Let's go. What's up, everybody? What's up? Did you catch that cough, by the way? I tried to get it out of the way before I actually joined. Guys, welcome back to number one, the Inner Circle. It's been a while. I feel like I haven't seen you guys in forever. I know last week I was out of town. A lot of drama happened, broke my ankle, came back, got COVID. Here I am. That's why Teresa and I are separate today. I definitely don't feel the same as when she's sitting right next to me, but standing when I'm sitting. But we're going to crush today's workshop, guys, because today is a workshop that people have been asking me for a while. And it has a lot to do with like the amount of people that have asked me how we've been able to build an audience, especially on YouTube, that are people who are joining our community, joining our book club, joining our Inner Circle, which is you, because you're here, you're watching this. This is not open to all of YouTube. It's open to you. And Julie, good morning, my friend. And so we wanted to kind of like share some of the ways that we've been able to do that. And this is also something that, like, yes, we're going to talk about like how you could do this in your business, but it's also something you can definitely do. And I even think about like with our kids, like there's certain people that influence them in their lives and they have a little bit more influence than us. And so if we can connect the dot there, then it's actually going to be super helpful to be able to connect the dots with our kids when we bring in that connection piece. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. Whew. I think I'm out of breath already.
COVID, like you ran a marathon.
COVID brain and COVID chest is forever. But hi, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
I know. Just so you know, Teresa's doing everything for everybody inside of this house, and I have no idea how she's able to do it all. But I do think you need another shot of pre-workout because with all the things you're doing, you need a little bit more. So, okay, so let's get into influence surfing. I think you have the first question. Go for it.
Yeah. So what is it? What does influence surfing mean?
Yes. Okay. So what influence surfing means, like kind of like on its most basic level, Michael, what's going on, brother? What influence surfing means is there's people who have more influence than us, meaning when they talk, people listen, right? So these could be people like personal development czars. They could be like authors. They could be people who are in the news. There could be people who are so many different types of people that actually command influence from the audience that they're already following. Or that are following them. Usually it's because they put in time and effort and they've built their audience up. And so when you think about these people, I mean, even for example, like Elon Musk, like love him or hate him, he's got influence. And so if you can bring up something that Elon Musk does or have a way of like connecting it to some of your content, you will naturally get people who follow Elon Musk because they love him or they hate him to watch your stuff. And that's really what influence surfing is. It's finding other people who maybe have more influence or have influence in another area that maybe you don't necessarily have influence in. And it gives you the opportunity of being able to connect those dots. Tiffany and Ed. Ed, what's going on, my brother? Welcome back, my friend. And Tiffany, good morning. Good morning. And so that's what influence surfing is. It's finding ways of connecting the dots between you and somebody else who has more influence in an area that you want to gain that influence from. Let me give you an example, okay? So if you've been following us for any long period of time, you know we talk a lot about books, right? So we're reading right now Worthy inside of our book club. So when you see a picture of me holding the book Worthy, believe it or not, there's people who like don't know who I am, but they see me holding the book. And that gives me a certain amount of influence because they're like, oh, I wonder what he says about this. Or I wonder what feedback I'm going to get from this. Or, you know, they're Jamie Kern Lima fans who are like, oh, I'd really love to hear what he has to say because it's going to be related to business and family. And so just me doing that creates a certain amount of influence where, let's just be honest, if like I just randomly got on social media and started talking about how you can be more worthy and I didn't have any influence that I could bring there would be far less people who would watch my stuff, who would like our stuff, join our book club and all that, because it's basically it's like you know, me jumping in and not having that influence and trying to get people to see what I'm capable of is much harder, especially on social media, rather than grabbing somebody else's influence. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And it's one of those things where like you can actually like dig into a specific topic and then bring up an influencer that is well known. And now people will see you talking about that specific topic and kind of associate like your expertise with that particular topic and you.
Yep.
So
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. In the next kind of question that we have is like, what are some qualities that we look for when identifying influential people in personal development? So I'm going to kind of share like how we do this. And I want you to know that there's infinite number of ways of doing this, all right? How we talked about in the beginning is like influence surfing. Like a lot of people think it's like for people who have like millions and millions of followers. But at the same time, I actually did a version of influence surfing with my mentor, Josh Coates. How many of you guys are here because we connected first in one of Josh Coates' program? And so even that is a version of influence surfing. It's looking for like your audience or a group of people that you can serve and then getting put in front of them by somebody of other influence, right? And by doing that, you gain that person's influence and you can bring it into like your business. Does that make sense? But you do have to be cautious of the qualities of people that you're looking for or that you're going to be influence surfing on. Because remember this, if you decide to influence surf on somebody or a book or anything like that, and it's something that brings like a lot of negativity, like what's that? Who's that guy, Teresa, that is like Andrew Tate? So for example, if you're influencing on somebody like Andrew Tate, like I don't really know the guy, but I hear there's a lot of negativity and stuff around it. Like realize that you're probably going to be influencing people who might like think negatively, I don't know, about women, or might feel negatively about him, and they might bring some anger and frustration to what it is that you're doing. So you do kind of want to be cautious of like, okay, like what type of either book or what type of person am I actually talking about? Like, for example, even if I brought in Elon Musk and we've gone back and forth with this, right? So I don't really love his leadership status, right? I really don't love how he leads. And if I did a video related to like something like that Elon Musk did that was incorrect in a way he could do it differently, I would also be getting a lot of people who either really love him or really hate him. And it would bring some negativity to what it is that I have going on. So I choose, just because of this is our choice, that we don't lead with negativity ever. We always live with positivity and growth. And so that's what we have to make sure we do, is we have to make sure that when we do find people that we want to use their influence, that we want to make sure where that influence is coming from. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's kind of along the lines of controversy,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like,
Yep.
okay, do you want to bring that over to your audience or to your space, right? And that's up to you. I mean, some people do and some people don't. So
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point. So I took a course. It was on YouTube, and they were kind of talking about that. They were like, if you want to get more people's attention, do something that's controversial, but realize whose attention you're getting. Because if you actually want to work with them in a one-on-one atmosphere, it might not be the best idea. However, if all you're doing is you're looking for the most amount of views or most amount of downloads, like, go for it. Like, you're going to get a whole ton of them, right? But it's like, if you're working with them one-on-one, you have to really think about, like, okay, is this the type of person that is going to attract like our right audience, right? So when I think of like personal development, like people like Jim Rohn, people like Zig Ziglar, people like John Maxwell, like those are people that I want to surf on their influence, right? Because if you see a picture of me and John Maxwell on the same thumbnail, you're gonna be like, oh my God, like, did he get to meet him or anything like? And so you're going to naturally start to watch what it is that it is if you're interested in John Maxwell and you're wondering like what it is that we did, right? And it's a little mixture of curiosity, but at the same time doing that influence surfing, right? So one of the things I would do is I would say, like, when you think about like what are the steps for you to be able to do this, is I want you to think about I don't want to say experts because you guys are experts, but who are the influencers in the space that you're currently owning right now? So think about that. Who are the influencers or the experts or the people in your space right now who have more influence than you just because they maybe have been doing this longer? And how could you create something? It could be a reel, could be a story, it could be a post, it could be anything that is connecting to them, something they've done, maybe a book they've written, something that will allow people to go, not be a focus on you, but be a focus on them, that will allow them to start to build the know, like, and trust with you. So thinking about that, I'd love to hear from you guys in the chat here. If you can leave me a comment, who is someone or what is something that comes into mind that is related to, if I had more influence in this area, if I had this person's audience following me, it would actually be a great thing because it's in alignment with what I'm currently doing. So I'd love to hear that answer in the chat. All right. The next question that we have is like, what challenges we face when trying to implement ideas from influential figures. So I'll share a little bit about this and I'll see what Teresa comes up with too, is one of the things you do have to remember is that when you are influence surfing, like, of course, you can accidentally influence surf the wrong person. But even when you're influence surfing, remember you're selling people mostly on that person rather than on you. Okay, so that is something that we've come across, all right? So we have 17,000 subscribers, right? And a lot of those were from people who were interested in people outside of us. And when they came on, they saw us, me and Teresa, doing videos and whatnot. If you look at some of our YouTube videos, I'm actually going to pop it open right now. So if you look at some of our videos, the last one is How to Become Unstoppable in Business. It's from David Goggins, Can't Hurt Me. The one before that is Make the Obstacle Your Superpower. And so we're diving into the book, The Obstacle is the Way, right? We even have one at How to Fix Your Mindset in Business, Les Brown style. That one is about Les Brown and his mindset shift hacks that he has, right? But these are all things that we're getting influence from other people. And then when they jump in, one of the things that you could run into is that they don't see that person, or they don't see like, David Goggins or Les Brown, having a conversation, right? They see us. And so there is an opportunity for them to go, I'm out of here. This isn't actually what I came for. I wanted to see, Les Brown's motivation or whatever. So these are all things to think about, is that when you are doing some influence surfing, sometimes you'll notice that people will peace out after they come there. However, being willing to try and keep adjusting and figuring out like creative ways in order to bridge that gap will get people to start coming and starting to build that know, like, and trust so they can take the next step with you in a different area. One of the things that you see that we do here is that we'll have shorts and we'll have videos that are influence surfing. So our shorts will be like, hey, this is what David Goggins told me about like doing X, Y, and Z, right? It's things that I read in his book, and how I like title it gets people really excited about it, right? But then a certain amount of them will start liking it and start following us and start subscribing, and then they'll make it to our live workshops. Our live workshops aren't influence surfing. It's me and Teresa leaning into what we've learned to be able to build the business that we did right now, to be able to leave our full-time jobs, to be able to get more connected with our family. And this is all us. Like, we're not influence surfing on here. And so you can kind of see like the pattern is getting people into your atmosphere. And then from there, yes, taking them to the next step, but it also isn't, it's making them more connected to you at that point, rather than the person that maybe initially brought them in. Does that make sense? So you're going to lose some people in the mix. You're going to. If you look, we have 17,000 followers, right? And we have like 60 people in the inner circle, and we do have quite a bit in the book club, maybe like 7,000 in the book club. But every single level will kind of like step down, right? Tiffany says self-awareness of the know, like, and trust is part of what I want to teach, without focusing too heavily on the problems, but not dismissing incongruity with how we are suggestive and can miss red flags. Yeah, Tiffany, so who are some people who are teaching that? Who are some people who are going into the deep subconscious mind that you could do something on, right? You could write an email. You could write a post. You could write, and you do this too, Tiffany, but one of the things we want to do is in the beginning of a post or a video or whatever, you want to call out that influence, whoever you're surfing on. And then below that, you can give your advice, your direction, your feedback, and all that stuff. But when you're influence surfing, you want to make sure whatever it is you're talking about at the top or at the beginning of the video is about that person, because that's what people clicked on, right? And then you can share like your interpretation of it. But if you can share your interpretation in the beginning, a lot of people will peace out. That's what I have found through doing this for like about a year of influence surfing, is finding out that when I do that, people peace out, right? Yeah, I actually read her book, Tiffany. She is really powerful writer for sure. And so thinking about that, like even if you shared a copy of her book, you holding her book and talking about like, the impact that it's made, and then sharing like what it is that you can do or what you've done to help, all those kind of things, really gets you to do that influence surfing. So people who love her are going to see her post. They're going to be like, yes, that was the best ever. By the way, Julie even said this right now. You literally just influence surf Julie, who's on here, right? Mm-hmm. She's like, I love that book. Now, how much more open is she going to be to hearing what you have to say, right? This is how influence surfing works. And so instead of leading with like us and our opinions and our thoughts, when we influence surf, we lead with them, and then we can share some of those things. And this is how we get people to like to begin that know, like, and trust journey with us, right? Because they're connecting with something they already know, like, and trust. And now they're putting the dots between you and seeing if that's going to be something that's going to be congruent. Does that make sense? What do you think, Teresa? Anything?
Yeah, I think, you said it perfectly, where it's like an example here where when you're basically going to be attracting people who are already into personal development, like let's say, for example, books. So if you're holding up a book, then people who already kind of know about the book, or at least the author, then they're going to be like more open to hearing what you have to say. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the book club that we have is so successful, because, when people come in, like new people, this is like a cold audience. They don't know anything about us, but then they see you holding up a book and they see book club and they're like, oh, okay, like, let's go. Let's see what this is about. Right. And then they get to, be in the app and start kind of like that relationship where they go into the know, like, and trust. Mm-hmm. And I have to say that I don't normally talk about the book club very much. I don't know why, but I am now. Because I sent out an email last week and I got so many people to say, what, you have a book club? I want in, right? I didn't realize that my audience, the people on my email list, were so into books, but now I know. So, and it's not necessarily like, oh, they don't necessarily associate that with me, but they love books. They love reading books. Now they're more open to going in and seeing what this is all about, right? These people have never responded to my emails. I didn't even know they were on my email list, but they raised their hand now, and now like they're in the book club, or they'll be joining the book club. So, it's just another way to kind of get people into your, circle with books. I think that's like the biggest one for us as entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah. And as I kind of think about it, as you say that, like obviously before this, I used to have a lot of freemiums that I would do, right? Where it was a free offer, a free PDF or something like that. But that's me surfing on my own influence.
Yes.
Now me putting together a book club and showing people 5 of the books that we're kind of like reading or whatever. Now it's like the people who like me are already going to sign up, but also the people who don't like me are going to see that and go, oh my gosh, this could be something that we could actually surf on, or I surf on. This is something that we could actually sign up with.
Yeah, let's go surfing. Well, before you move on, like that's even like a great idea for people, like having a freemium. So something that's free that you can give to people in exchange for their information, so that you can email them. So if you do have an email list, freemiums are a great way to get people on your email list. But even doing a freemium around that, where pick your favorite book and talk about it, and just say, or like do a summary of it, or just say, hey, my top reasons why I love this book, or the top ways that this book has changed my life. Even things like that, like you can put together. It's super easy.
Yeah. Let's even take that to the other next level. And that is like, what is a book that you can do a breakdown for that would give people the best chance to actually work with you one-on-one afterwards, right? So for example, it was kind of weird, but I gave out a bunch of my books, right? Mastering Your Life Through Self-Coaching. And what I've gotten back from people is that people who are coaches who give this book out, literally they're influence surfing on my influence of writing a book. Because you give it to someone who maybe doesn't understand life coaching. And if you're a life coach, especially a certified life coach through us, now people are like, oh my God, like, wow, I didn't even realize. And you're like, oh yeah, I actually do that. I'm a life and performance coach. That's what I can do. So what Mark talked about in the book, that's what and so basically you're influence surfing on other people, right? Even by doing that, by doing a book review, even Josh's, best version of you, all of these different opportunities are, if I give somebody that book or I do a book review of that, it gives them the likelihood of like potentially wanting to hire me, right? Versus if I had just made a book or just grabbed a book from my favorite author, right? We have to be strategic about this, especially when we're influence surfing. We don't want to just like, I'm just going to put a freemium, which I've done before, a random freemium out and like wonder why it's not working or wonder why it's not getting people to sign up because it's not in alignment with what I'm selling, right?
Another thing is, sorry, I keep interrupting you. Another thing is that when you have a topic that you really love, but maybe you have problems explaining it or kind of, repeating it and kind of sharing it in a way that people can understand. Having a book or doing like the influence surfing is a great way for people to be like, oh, like that's really cool, like that topic, and they can understand it because you're actually getting someone else to explain it for you. So this was like at the beginning when I was reading books, getting really into books, like that's how I would be able to explain what I had learned to people, basically just using the influencer's words. So that way they could understand kind of like the personal growth I was going through without me having to explain it. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. It's kind of like, especially because they understand it so well, they can explain it a lot easier that you're kind of like getting them to do that. And then you're kind of bridging the gap, right? So you're using other people's strengths, right? Which is awesome, A couple things. I want to respond to Tiffany's question here, or Tiffany's comment here, but also remind me, Teresa, to talk about how this works with the family before we move on, okay? So she says, Victor Marx is another I definitely want to introduce to people, and that's how I see it, introducing their expertise to my audience and what I want to protect. So Tiffany, you're doing that in reverse. So your influence is getting people to learn about Victor Marx. It's different than what we're talking about because what you're doing is you have to have influence first, and then you introduce them to Victor Marx, and now he's the expert. Does that make sense? As opposed to you lead with Victor Marx, and then you introduce them to Tiffany. Does that make sense? It's a little bit of a different tweak, but it's different because if you think about the influence that you have, your people already are willing to take the actions. They're willing to listen to you. They have that know, like, and trust. So you're just going to be continuing to build that, which is important. but it's not necessarily influence surfing because you're not gaining people from the outside who don't know you and then connecting the dots between you two, right?
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to keep in mind. Like, it's not something wrong with that, but I just want you to keep in mind that when we're influence surfing, we start with that person or that thing, and then we bridge the gap between them and us, not the other way around, right? And here's the thing, guys. On this channel, I give you guys my influence as much as I possibly can. You guys are on the lives with me. Like, I actually have you get on my podcast. I do whatever I can as Inner Circle members to jump on to do a YouTube live with us because I want to share my influence with you. So for some respect, you are influence surfing that way when you're jumping on the calls, when people are getting to see you, when you take one of our recordings and you send it to your friend and it was because you were on the show, you're influence surfing them or us so that they now go, oh my God, you were on the show with Mark and Teresa. You must really know what it is that you're talking about. And the answer is yes, you do. But for some reason, when you're on this platform, it makes them feel like you have more influence, right? And so that's why we're doing that. That's why we allow Inner Circle members and not people outside of the Inner Circle, but people inside to be able to have our influence by being on YouTube, right? But could I go start a channel by doing this influence surfing correct? You could do either. I mean, I would say do both, right? If you're doing that first piece, right? So let me get into something real quick, Tiffany, okay? And this is an important part. It's mostly for YouTube, but it's also something that I feel is also for social media, okay? And that is like there's 3 types of content, all right? 3 types of content, all right? The first one is like you growing and reaching new people. This is influence surfing. They say 75% or so is about influence surfing, about going out and connecting with new humans, right? But then about, I think 15% is community-based stuff. This is stuff that keeps your current people excited and happy. It's the Inner Circle here. You guys have this because it's only for you guys, but it's like I listen to what it is that you say you want and need, and I come and Teresa and I will teach and train on it. And so that's the community aspect. You have to have community or you're going to influence surf people and they're going to peace out and they're never going to stay around. And then about 10% of the time, doing something related to sales, closing like someone, right? Giving them to the next, making them take them to the next step. It's called converting, right? And so when you think about this, you want to have a majority of it to reach more people, new people, but you also want to have the community content that helps keep people around and stay connected, and then the sales piece, all right? So I don't know if like creating a whole new thing would be a good idea, but like just obviously everybody's situation is a little bit different, but it's an opportunity for you to implement all 3 of those things for sure. Now, before we go on, and we're only going to be on for a few more minutes, my leg is killing me right now. But I want to share a little bit about like how this could work with your family or your friends or anything like that, okay? So just like how we're talking about on social media right here, we're taking influence from somebody that maybe we've read their book or we know about them or we've been a part of their community, right? And then we're kind of like bringing it and connecting the dots between us, right? So that we can gain that influence. Your kids have the same thing. They have people in their life that influences them more than you do, okay? I hate to break it to you, but it's the case. For example, if my kids, like for some reason, my son likes watching Dr. Mike on YouTube. So if I'm like, hey, did you see what Dr. Mike said about this? He's like, what? He's like paying attention because now I'm influence surfing because I'm like, hey, I saw this video from Dr. Mike. And he's like, wait, you watch Dr. Mike? And now all of a sudden I have more influence, right? It's the same with like when I start talking to about like video games or anime with my son or anything like that. It's like, oh my God, like it's a version of me influence surfing. So when you're able to do that, when you're able to find what it is that gives them influence, or I mean that has their influence, and then bridge the gap between that, it actually helps you develop more influence too. So this isn't just something for social media. This is just psychology, just in and of itself, right? It's bridging the gap, finding somebody or something that already has their know, like, and trust, and then you just getting closer to that. Does that make sense? And that helps you to bridge that gap. All right. One final question. What do you think? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone just starting with influence surfing? What do you think?
For me, I think it would be just going back to what I said earlier, is like the whole personal development thing. Books are just like they're just super easy to do that. So, when you're diving into personal growth books, just sharing about that. And I always get a lot of interest, even now, after years and years of getting into personal development books. Every time I share about a book or an author, there's always interest there. There's always like, oh, okay, well, she's reading this and she's reading this particular topic, and I've read that before, or I'm going through that right now. Like, this would be interesting. So that's probably like the easiest way to go about it, because that's influence surfing. Obviously, you have someone who's written a whole entire book about whatever topic that is, and then you're diving into it and reading it and growing from there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I think if there's one tip that I would give, Trisha, thank you so much, my friend. I will feel better, I'm sure. If there's one tip that I can give, and that is just try it. Just like, even when it comes to like a post on social media, a video, a reel, whatever, like, just give it a shot. There's going to be things that actually work well. There's going to be things that don't work well, and you won't know until you actually do it. Like for us here on this channel, there's been videos that have gotten 600, 800, 3,000 like views because we influence surf. One specifically has to do with Brene Brown and being vulnerable. Like, that one really kind of took off. And some of them flop and they have like 20 or 30 views. And some of them bring people in, and I find out that they bring the wrong people in, but you don't know until you actually try it. So really thinking about like, what is a way that I can just try this, see how it works, and then obviously connect the dots between you and that person or that book so that they have the most likelihood chance of like continuing to follow you, continuing to listen. Because remember, this is all just about planting seeds. This is the expand part of the formula when it comes to business. It's reaching new people. You could try and force it. You could try and just use Facebook ads. You can try and do all those things. You can try and just command your own influence, which everybody has influence, by the way. You just may not have influence in the online space. And then we got to ask ourselves, how do we bridge that gap, right? Or you can find ways of commanding other people's influence, right? Being able to connect with other people, getting on their channel, or doing this influence surfing like we talked about. And I really hope that this has helped you guys, not only to see how to influence surf, but also knowing that there's a million ways to grow your business. There's a million ways to find more people. As long as you're willing to go, okay, this is something I've been trying and it's not working. Let me try something different. And you're willing to go out there and to find it. That's really where the blessing really is. It's the reason why we're here. It's the reason why we have our book club, because we've read thousands of books and we want to share them all with you guys, right? It's the reason why we have our inner circle, is because we always want to do whatever we can to help you guys out. And being willing to like find those things and being willing to share those with everybody else in the community is what we love to do. So we appreciate you very much for making it here to the end of 34 minutes. I think that's pretty much all I got. I appreciate it, guys. I will very soon get better. I know I will. I don't want to jinx it, but yes, I appreciate you guys for being here. I would really love to hear your feedback from this, like what your takeaways are. If there's like one takeaway that you would feel is like the biggest one that you got from this, please let me know and lean into this and let me know how this process is going for you. And if I can help you, jump into the app, shoot me a message. Maybe you're like, hey, I'm thinking about influence surfing this person or this book or whatever, and I will help you bridge that gap because I've gotten really good with it over the last year. So definitely use me as a resource. Plug into the app, because all I'm doing is like laying in bed all day anyway. But I appreciate you guys very much. You guys have an incredible weekend with your family. Teresa, thank you so much for taking care of me. All right, guys, I'll see you everybody real soon. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.